Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Bob McCauley. I own the Watershed Wellness Center in Lansing, Michigan, and I've been in business about 30 years, and I've been doing this stuff with natural health almost all that time, but at least 25 years. I'm a certified nutritional consultant, a certified master herbalist, and a naturopathic doctor. And but really I always tell people what I know about health for the most part is what I've experienced. So it's 80% experience and 20% book work or looking at videos and studying and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, been doing it a long time, love doing it. It's my life's work and I enjoy it very, very much. So before I get into my presentation about the brain, the command center of the human body, I just mentioned to you here, I've written really 6 books on health and a few other books as well, but these 3 books that I've got here are now available on Audible, on audible.com, and so they're the spoken versions in my own voice. And the first one I did was my latest book, The Cure in the Mirror, Nature's Protocol for Surviving Cancer. The second one I did is Silver. This one over here, the end of infectious disease, about how I got meningitis and what I used to cure myself of that. That's infectious diseases. And then my most popular book of all time, without doubt, The Miraculous Properties of Ionized Water, the definitive guide to the world's healthiest substance. And there is nothing better for your body than water, and there's no better water than alkaline ionized water. And it is my biggest seller. I wrote that originally. This is the 3rd edition. I wrote it originally in 2006. We actually know a lot more about ionized water now than we did then. And Dr. Gerald Pollack wrote The 4th Phase of Water. You want to read that book? It's kind of a layman's book. It's pretty good. But he confirmed that alkaline ionized water is found everywhere in nature, even inside your own body. And I won't go into the details because this is a talk about the brain, but that is on Audible now as well. If you can't find them, I'll put them in the links below, and so you guys can find all the Audible links. But just go to Audible and type Bob McCauley or Dr. Bob McCauley, and it'll come up for sure. So let's get into the talk. The brain, the most important part. I mean, if you don't have the brain, well, then your body and your health is worthless to you. For instance, if you get dementia, well, you could be very healthy. Actually, someone I knew very well had dementia, and this person was extremely physically active. Well, it was kind of sad because you see people with Alzheimer's, they can't move around, they can't do anything, but he could, and then he had dementia. So, it wasn't easy for, his family to really take care of him because, he was kind of that in-between. If you can put them away in a home, fine. But if you can't, and they're active, and they can walk around, and they can do things, and they got a lot of problems thinking, this is not good. They're always looking for a gene for Alzheimer's and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to talk about, first of all, what is the brain? The brain is this really spongy material, and everything gets caught up into it. Because the brain is made out of fats and acids, and that's what the brain wants more than anything else. As we go through these things, you're going to see that the brain really, it's just wants those 2 elements, and more than anything else. And if you don't feed those elements to the brain, you're not going to be doing well, and that's why you're going to get brain fog. And that's why you're going to get dementia. And where does dementia come from? Let's start with that, because I want to talk about the cleanliness of the brain and how to clean the brain. First of all, if you get something like Alzheimer's, the problem is, can you cure that body or that person of Alzheimer's? So it's possible, but the problem with the brain is that you get dementia. And once you've got dementia, once you've got Alzheimer's, once you've got this stuff, it is just so difficult to tell anybody what to do. Walk down the hallway and use the bathroom, or just put their shoes on, let alone tell them all the things they need to do to start reversing this disease. So Alzheimer's comes from brain toxicity. And as I said, the brain is like a sponge. So, you got a lifetime of putting the wrong things into the body. They get up into the brain, and they, this is a very huge, storm of chemical activity that's going on every minute. There's all sorts of brain chemicals being made all the time, and so you go put a bunch of things in there that don't belong. Well, those synapses that you see, if you see any brain videos or anything like that, these synapses, I mean, they don't work. You live on the wrong diet, and you're not creating new synapses. We're going to talk about that because I've got a product for that. I've got something for that, and and then the old synapses that you have, I mean, they're just, they're just going away. They're misfiring. They're not coming together at the right space to do this. You take a drug, and that's what's happening. Like cocaine is a good example. You take a cocaine, and your synapses just keep firing and firing and firing and firing. Well, that may feel good for a little bit, but this is a really, really dangerous thing, and it's obviously this is not natural. So this is why you want to stay away from any kind of drug that's going to affect your brain. I'm not in favor of any of them, but some are worse than others. But at any rate, you want that brain. You want it producing the right chemicals. You want all the electrical, firing, that's electrical storm that's going inside the brain on all the time. You want that to be done correctly. So, it just happened in the right way, the natural way. So we're going to get into a little bit where, why digestive health is so important. Because, like, for instance, they always say that the gut is the second brain, okay? And in fact, there's a book out there, read it a long time ago, it's called The Brain-Gut Connection, but it just shows you the brain is called the stomach is called the second brain, and there's a lot of your serotonin, in fact almost not all of it, but a lot of it is created down in the gut down here. So digestive health is critical. And so you don't want to be living on a junk food diet of any kind. That's fast foods, processed foods, fried foods. Fried foods are deadly. They're really poisonous. I don't care if you got a frying pan you made at home and using the right kind of oil. Frying foods is just poison you're putting into your body. So processed foods, fast foods, junk foods, all this kind of stuff. I mean, they just destroy your in fried foods in particular, destroy your digestive tract. And so I'm a big promoter of probiotics, digestive enzymes, and fermented foods such as like kimchi or sauerkraut. All it takes is water and salt, and you put it in there for a couple days. Now you have a fermented food. So it's pretty amazing and very easy and extremely healthy. So I'm big into fermented foods. And acetic acid, which comes from apple cider vinegar, and that's the only thing really in apple cider vinegar that's worth anything is the acetic acid. But that's amazing stuff. So once again, an acid, but this one for the digestion. But it's really good for you. I have apple cider vinegar every single day. I have my own brand of apple cider vinegar, Dr. Bob's, but you obviously want the organic apple cider vinegar, and you can find it in any store. I don't need to give a plug for somebody else, but most of the stores are even carrying the organic stuff now. If you get the stuff that's clear and the Heinz and then that, stay away from that crap. That doesn't do anything for you. So let's get into, first of all, let's talk about the minerals for the brain. So first of all, believe it or not, platinum. Platinum is excellent for the brain. So there's three main minerals that are going to we're going to talk about for the brain. Then we're going to talk about iodine and what that does for the brain as well. But platinum is what gives you a lot of mental alertness. You want that first thing in the morning when you wake up. So, I take a full spectrum, this bottle right here. It's a full spectrum mineral. It's got 26 different minerals. It's going to have everything in there. If you want to separate them out, these are some of my biggest sellers for minerals, by the way. People really understand how critical the brain is and brain health is. Like I said, if this isn't functioning, it's over for you, because you can't have a life. You can't have quality of health. And that's everything I do, quality of health. So the platinum's number one. That really is best taken in the morning. It's fantastic for the brain. Number two is indium. Indium is for the pineal gland, and that's what feeds the pineal gland. Well, that's the gland that's in the center of your head, and they call it the third eye because it's right here, and it what produces melatonin, and also, that kind of tells the body when it's dark and when it's open. When it's light. So they call it the third eye, because you're supposed to be sleeping at a certain time, which is night. People who work third shifts, there's been a lot of, throughout the night from 11 to 7 a.m. Been a lot of studies in how they really never can adjust to those hours. In the end, they always are off, because that just says your body is always, moving on light. And how these cycles, the circadian rhythm of the cycles. Now we're mentioning the pineal gland. The other this is in iodine for detoxifying or decalcifying the pineal gland, which is in the center of the brain. and very important. That's, people call it the third eye, the longevity gland, and iodine does so many things. Really, magnesium's our most important mineral, but in the end, really, because that's our heart mineral, but in the end, it really comes down to iodine. So that's iodine feeding the metabolism all the time. If you don't do that, the entire endocrine system does not function properly, and you have all sorts of problems, including like dry eye. You don't have this internal lubrication, this kind of stuff. So at any rate, very important, iodine, but for the pineal, and which is critical to our health. Again, that's the one in the center of the brain, so it goes along with the brain health. Very important. Next one is gold, liquid angstrom gold. I don't know if you can see it or not, but these angstrom minerals, what you want to do is take about a capful or 1 teaspoon, take it, hold it in your mouth and hold it under your sublingual, under your tongue, and it goes into the body through the sublingual duct and into the body, into the blood, and then carried throughout the body. That's where they're most effective. If you want to know a lot about minerals, my book on silver talks a lot about minerals. I have the minerals broken out so they don't interfere with each other, from morning, afternoon, evening blends, So if you want to get really technical about it, or nerdy, or however you want to really get those minerals exactly at the right time, I do have them broken out into that. But that'll explain more about minerals than anything else I've written. But everything I talk about and everything I write about, is all my 7-component health protocol. Which is alkaline ionized water, spirulina and chlorella, raw fruits and vegetables. That's all I eat is raw fruits and vegetables. Liquid angstrom probiotics and prebiotics, the friendly bacteria, liquid angstrom minerals, vigorous daily exercise. Got to get that one, folks. A lot of people don't want to do that. I do it every day. And then positive mental attitude. Keep this positive up here. Your prayer life, staying close, finding, having a relationship with God. These are all very, very important. Prayer is very, very important. So gold, that's sleep regulations. I take some almost every night before I go to bed. And guess what? I always have, I always remember my dreams when I do that. And then they have something called lucid dreaming, where you can really see your dreams extremely well. I never tend to remember my dreams. Some people are really good at that. I'm not. But when I do remember them, I know I've dreamt a lot, and I sleep better and later into the morning when I have gold, liquid angstrom gold. So those are the 3 main brain minerals that you need. And the next one I'll talk about is a little bit different. This one is magtine, magnesium L-threonate. Okay, magnesium L-threonate. So and I'll put the links of all these things in the description here, so you can find them all on the website if you want to look at it. But magtine, or magnesium L-threonate, is just incredible stuff. You're going to take this and not feel anything whatsoever. But it is the only kind of magnesium that crosses the brain-blood barrier, and so it can feed the brain. You look at anybody who's had Alzheimer's and has been autopsied, you'll see they have no magnesium. You look at they've done studies on this, stupid monkey, smart monkey. You autopsy the both of them, stupid monkey, no magnesium in the brain, smart monkey, full of magnesium. So it's all about that magnesium. So again, that has to do with this Alzheimer's, and also anybody with seizures. That's more neurological. That's going to help out tremendously. I had a person that very, very serious seizures, the really, really bad ones and all that kind of stuff, and started getting him on the magtine and magnesium threonate, and it all went away. So I take that every single day, and I never miss. I take it in the morning and in the evening. It's one of my key minerals, and the great thing about this is that there's no taste, so you can give it to anybody. Almost not, a lot of magnesium is really hard and awful to take. But I do offer this. It's a powder, but it's a cheaper way to take it. But I have it in capsules if you need that. So those are your brain minerals, the 3 main ones I mentioned, and then the magnesium L-threonate. And those are all critical, really, to your health. And again, I take them practically every single day. I don't want to miss those. But okay, so those are there. Now, as I said, you've got your fats and your acids. So we're talking about minerals so far. Let's talk a little bit about fats and acids and what I do with those. And this is my own formula, Nutratonic Ultra. And I'm really pleased with this. I made the best product I ever created. And I've got it in capsules. and then I have it in sweetened with some flavoring with stevia. And I mean, that stuff tastes really good, and it's obviously fantastic for your brain. Now, what's in there? First of all, alpha GPC. Alpha GPC is the rock star of choline. What is choline? Choline's fats, and now we're into the fats. And you've got your essential fatty acids that you can get from all sorts of raw fruits and vegetables and nuts. Spirulina has GLA, gamma linolic acid, essential fatty, and then chlorella has alpha ALA, alpha linolic acid, and these feed the brain. Then there's DHA. You can get those in chia seeds. There's a few other places. There's one type of algae called Schizarium that's a good source for that. I sell that, but that's just, everybody talks about the essential fatty acids. One thing to know about fat is that we humans and animals can't create fat. All fat comes from the plant world. You look at, for instance, fish oil. Well, fish they're not creating this oil. They're eating the algae and then accumulating it, and then you strip it out and you get the oil, and then you take that. Once again, as I say, that's a middleman. Just like meat, fish, eggs, and dairy are just a middleman. All these animals that we eat, they're all vegetarians. So a chicken is just eating that, or a cow is just eating that, grass or grain or whatever they're feeding them out there, and then they're turning that into fats. They're accumulating the fats, and they're turning that into muscle, and then you eat the muscle, and you call that meat, and then it's just a middleman. You may as well go right to the source. That's why I take spirulina and chlorella, two most powerful foods in the world. I take these. That's what happens to have DHA in it, but it's got the Schizarium. But you don't need meat, fish, eggs, and dairy strictly for the taste. As a matter of fact, if you take a handful of that, that is going to be all the protein you'll need for that meal. That's 60% protein. When I say a handful, it's a small handful given your size of your hand. So anywhere 10 to 12 tablets are pretty small. You take that and you got all the protein you need. And then if you want to eat meat, fish, eggs, or dairy, they're strictly for the taste, because they're not going to add anything to these two powerhouses, the strongest foods in the world. So let's get back into the Nutratonic Ultra. So we on that one, you've got alpha GPC. This is the rock star of cholines. That's a fat. Well, that's going to produce all these, immediately transfer and translate into the brain in these acetylcholines. And so this is really, really important, because that's what makes your brain work. One other one I'll mention is phosphatidylserine. That's in here too. Phosphatidylserine, another choline, form of choline, and some people just call it PS. But this is for focus and concentration. And so, it also takes down cortisol levels. Cortisol levels is very dangerous for us. This is what happens to you, when you work out a lot. It's very stressful. You get into a very stressful situation. Cortisol really hurts the body a lot. Well, PS, phosphatidylserine, that will take down those levels of choline in the body, of cortisol in the body. So cortisol, very, very dangerous, and phosphatidylserine, or PS, helps bring that down. So it's really good, but it's focus, concentration. And then the other things that are in here are amino acids. So we've got 3 of them mainly, 3 amino acids, and they are triacine, theanine, and carnitine. So those 3 amino acids are what those are your brain amino acids. So again, fats and acids. These are amino acids. So that's what you're going to get, your cholines, you get your amino acids. And, that's what you're going to need more than anything else. Now, last but not least, you're going to need vitamin B6. Well, you could take vitamin B6, but the problem with that is that it takes a long time for a vitamin to find an enzyme to convert it so it's bioavailable. What's in here is something called P5P. P5P has already been converted. Very powerful stuff. So this is B6 is your brain vitamin. So you want that immediately, especially when you want immediate results. What I designed that this is supposed to be. This is the 5-hour energy of natural health. I mean, you take a hit of this this in the morning. I mean, when I say a hit, I mean, you're talking about maybe a quarter to a half a teaspoon at the most, and you just wake right up. I mean, it just feels fantastic. I mean, you want to wake the brain up. I mean, you mentioned it. Of course, hydration. I wake up in the morning for a big, tall glass of water. That's why I wrote my book on water. And then I have another one. You want to hydrate that brain. That right there will wake you up. People get up in the morning, they reach for a cup of coffee. They reach for a Coca-Cola. They start eating. People get up and they brush their teeth, or they go to the bathroom and they come in and there's their bowl of cereal. You got to hydrate your body before you do anything else. This is your best time to cleanse the body and to get it all, all this junk out of here that doesn't belong. And that's. But instead, people, like I said, they put this junk into their body, and of course they go for a 5-hour energy or one of these energy drinks. This is poison. This stuff is terrible. It should be taken off the market for as many heart attacks as they cause. But this is your natural 5 energy, and what you're doing here with this. Okay, you're feeding the brain. You ever notice when maybe you study and you sat there, and maybe you're studying in college, and you just sat there all day long, and you didn't do anything, and you get to the end of the day, you're just studying, sitting there, and you're exhausted. You can't just like I ran 10 miles. In fact, I ran 5 miles yesterday, and I'm not nearly as tired as I am now. So what's going on? Well, the brain is you've depleted all that energy. See, 85% of the energy you use as a person comes from the brain. This is using most of your energy. And then when you get into this really high-end gamma wave, brain activity, where you are, really concentrated and hour after hour, and you are creative, and you are writing something new, or you're making videos, or you're doing something. This is the gamma waves, and this is going to, just because you're plugged in, and that brain is going full blast, and there's electrical activity and electrical storms going on in there, and then what are you doing? Well, you're not replacing it with the things that it needs, which is this stuff. Okay, you need your choline, you need your acetylcholines, phosphatidylserines, and amino acids. So if you sit there all day and study with this stuff, and every couple hours, 2 or 3 hours, whatever, you take a hit of this, and again, you could take a couple capsules, you'll get to the end and you won't feel tired at all, because you're feeding the brain. Because what's happened at the end there, your brain is just depleted of all this stuff. I mean, it just can't handle it anymore. And so, it's just, you're not going to really get anything out of it, having, done that. So, you're just too tired. You're not, you've depleted it. You need to sit down and rest and let the brain regenerate. Well, you're helping it to regenerate much, much quicker when you're feeding it, and this is stuff you want to do it on. I highly recommend that one, obviously. So, and you look at things like depression, it's like serotonin. So serotonin, that's again in your gut. Well, most of the people who have clinical depression, quote unquote, nothing happened to them. They just always depressed. You look at their diet. Invariably, it's always a junk food diet of something, or just I eat pretty good. Let's get down to the brass tacks. What do you really put in your body? You'll just see it's a bunch of cooked foods. There's nothing special about it, and it's just there's no raw fruits and vegetables. They're really not rejuvenating themselves, and then they have a poor digestive health. So I go back to my probiotics and prebiotics, the fermented foods. I sell a great probiotic actually that has a prebiotic built into it. So that's pretty, an amazing product, and a just way to think about these things. The prebiotic can help really, get the probiotic, fed and get it to proliferate, and that's what you want. So, having said that, let's talk about some of the minerals that are meant for the body. What my favorite mineral in the world, I think it's the best mineral in the world, is mucuna. I don't know if you ever heard of this, mucuna pruriens. This comes from, some people call it velvet bean. It is the only herb in the world that produces HGH. So this is a key to longevity. Very, very important to make sure your body's still producing HGH at any age, human growth hormone at any age. So, that's, people don't think of it in that way, that they can really have longevity, or what that does. You create HGH. You create HGH about an hour after REM sleep, when you're dreaming and all that, 1 hour, and then maybe an hour or two after hard physical workout, lifting weights, really going out and running. Then you'll produce HGH. But you take this right before you get in bed. Now, what's in here? L-Dopa, an amino acid. So it's the acid it's looking for. L-Dopa is what they give to Parkinson patients. I got some people that take this for their Parkinson's, and their Parkinson's are, just all but disappeared completely, and they're not even on a raw food diet. So mucuna, the most important herb, I take it right before I go to bed. I never miss it. It's good for any neurological disease such as Parkinson's, all your seizures, all the neurological diseases. Any one, the ones that affect your muscular movement and that kind of stuff, that often is neurological, and this is your go-to. This is the mucuna. I love it, and it should be on everybody's list. Should be taken every single day. I take it in a powder. It's not that bad a tasting compared to some of the others, but I would take this, as I said, the best herb in the world, bar none. And then a couple more herbs just to kind of wrap it up here in the next few minutes. So now what do we got is Bacopa. Bacopa is another herb, and just an amazing herb for focus, concentration, for brain health. It does so many different things in the body. Again, what are we looking for? The bacticides or the bactecylic acid. So again, the acid, or you'll see any kind of herb that you're going to take for the brain, it's an acid. We're going to talk about a couple more. It's the acid. So Bacopa for focus, concentration, just for overall brain health. It does all sorts of other things in the body, not just for the brain, but Bacopa, not a well-known herb. Same with mucuna, not well-known. You could take ashwagandha, but that's not so much the brain. I love ashwagandha. I take it every day, but that's not so much the brain as these other ones that I'm mentioning. And then, of course, we've got rhodiola. Well, before I talk about rhodiola, let me go to one that's a little bit more well-known, ginkgo biloba. And again, what are we looking for? Ginkgosides or ginkgocylic acid, so it's the acid in there. Helps with circulation, helps with memory. A lot of clinical studies on that. Some companies spent millions of dollars to make sure everybody knew what ginkgo was. And it's from the tree that smells when it goes into these nuts. It has an awful smell to it. Beautiful to look at. You just got to watch where you step because it's pretty terrible. But ginkgo biloba is an amazing herb. I take it all the time, and great for circulation and get crossing the brain-blood barrier. By the way, just so I'll tell you, the only herb we know of that crosses the brain-blood barrier quickly and immediately is frankincense. And a lot of people will take frankincense oil and just on their thumb and get the roof of their mouth, and it goes right into the brain much more easily. I sell frankincense. It has very powerful anti-cancer properties, and just an absolutely amazing herb in frankincense, and it smells beautiful, and it smells like church, because it's just what it is. One of the herbs they gave to our Lord, so it must be pretty important. And then gold, they gave it to our Lord when he was born, our Lord Jesus. And so there you go. If it's good enough for him, believe me, it's good enough for all of us. So, and then last of the brain herbs, I'm going to talk about rhodiola. Again, it's that acid you're looking in there. It's got a couple of them in there, and the rhodiocydes or rhodioacetic acid. So there's several in all of these. By the way, the more you extract them, you can extract out these acids. It costs more to do that. The great thing about extracts, I'll tell you, it's just there's nothing like a concentrated herb. I mean, you could take tons and tons and tons of this stuff, and then in the end, you don't get very far at all. You really, it's hard to eat so much of it. Whereas you can do acid, this extract, which is concentrated, and they're looking for one particular, either nutrient, or they're looking for some kind of an acid. It could be anything in there. It depends on the plant, whether it's water soluble, like turmeric, for instance, or whether it's fat soluble, and so then you got to use some kind of an extraction, like a polypropylene or something like that, propofol. So you know, it depends on the herb, but you know, I'm not an extraction expert. It's quite a world out there of extraction experts in how they extract things, papers, scientific papers that have been written. But, you know, it's the only thing that would come close to this would be a sprout. Sprouts are powerful foods. They're very highly concentrated enzymes, and this is very highly concentrated in its own way. So I do rhodiola. I do it all the time, maybe not every single day, but, you know, one of the best herbs you could possibly it has all sorts of, you know, uses throughout the body. But what are we talking about today? We're talking about just the brain and how to be brain healthy. So I'm going to wrap it up here, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what I do for my brain and what I think you ought to do for your brain, and how important it is. Because again, if we can't think, guys, then we're in big trouble. You know, you know, be like this friend of mine whose relative had become, you know, he had dementia and he had crazy ideas about everything, but the guy was physically active. So that was kind of sad to see it. We had to kind of restrain this person from time to time. But at any rate, so you want to stay hydrated. Get up in the morning, stop eating anything, stop doing anything, get up in the morning and please just, you know, do your water. First thing in the morning, I promote alkaline ionized water. That's my biggest selling book right there. The cornerstone of health, water. So very, very important. I've got to stay hydrated all the time. So that's number one. Then we went over the minerals. I talked about platinum in the morning. Very good for the brain. And then I talked about indium for your pineal gland. That's in your brain. And then I talked about gold for sleep and sleep regulation. I talked about iodine for decalcification of the pineal gland. Very important. Okay, and then I went into my choline. And so, well, we talked a little bit about fatty acids, ALA, GLA, DHA. These are the essential ones. But again, humans and animals cannot produce fat. We can accumulate fat, but we cannot produce any fat. We don't produce. It all comes from the plant world. I mean, all the fish are just eating the algae, and then they're accumulating the fat. That's why if you get the farmed fish, there's no essential fatty acids in there at all, because they don't feed it any algae. They're feeding it grain and all sorts of other stuff. So it's not good for you to begin with, but then you're not getting any fatty acids out of that farm fished, farm-raised fish, that kind of stuff. There's just nothing going on there. And then we talked about the fats, and that's the Nutratonic Ultra. And the fat is, of course, alpha-GPC, which is acetylcholines, phosphatidylserine, that's for focused concentration, and you know, bringing down your cortisol levels, very important. We talked about the amino acids that are in it. Again, the acids, theanine, triacine, carnitine, very important. And then your B6, that's your brain vitamin. By the way, my B6 and my B12 are off the scale. And of course, as a vegetarian, you have to eat meat to get your B6 and your B12. That's nonsense. You get it from spirulina and chlorella. Don't let anybody tell you difference. There's all sorts of arguments against that. That's nonsense. You get it from probiotics. You get it from your body producing the B vitamins. It'll produce it by itself. You just have to feed yourself the right nutrients. But B6, and so I said in here we have P5P, that is the converted form of B6, so it goes right into the brain. So if you want focused concentration, take some of this first in the morning. Stay away from the 5-hour energies and all that stuff. And then we talked about all the different herbs. We talked about the mucuna, which is the most important herb. I could recommend the Bacopa, which is amazing stuff. Most people haven't heard of it. The Rhodiola and the ginkgo. So those are my main brain herbs, and there's some other great ones out there, but those are the ones I know the best. I hate to just start saying, hey, this is the one you should take here or whatever. So I just tell you, these are the ones that I take, the ones I know the best. And again, I take them all. I take them practically, well, every day. I never miss like the Nutratonic Ultra, because I know the importance of the brain. I mean, I can focus much more so much better when I'm taking those things. So when I'm doing this throughout the day, I'm working and everything. Focus concentration is very high when I'm doing that. I'll tell you another little aside. I go to YouTube or one of these other places, or Rumble, and you can play this background music for gamma waves. So gamma that's your highest brain waves. Well, I'm always creating and everything, and I want that. There's alpha waves, beta waves. and there's gamma. Gamma's for sleep. So if you want to, gamma's for delta's for sleep. So if you want to go into deep sleep, you get your gamma waves. Those are the really long ones. If you want your gamma waves for focus concentration, then you want them way up. They're way up here, and so they're very short, and they're just taking that brain out, and just you're on fire up here when you're being creative. You're writing something, you're painting, you're giving a speech or whatever you're doing. But when you're creating something, it's gamma waves. There's all sorts of videos that just have gamma waves in them, and sometimes they're in the music, or they just play the gamma wave like that, and your brain will take that, and again it rises up to that level, that frequency, and so now you're in sync and you're ready to concentrate. Well, don't listen to gamma waves when you go to sleep. That's the delta waves. Those are you put on that music, and it puts you right out and make you sleep very well. If you got alpha waves, which is kind of when you're really at attention, you're just listening, and you're kind of actively doing things and everything. Beta is when you're more relaxed, you're sitting and watching. You're watching a play, you're watching a movie, you're watching TV. That's beta, kind of passive. So those are kind of the difference. And those brain waves, you can get online and kind of look at those. But I always have something going in the background when I'm studying or anything like that. When I always have the gamma waves when I'm studying, and when I'm creating, or when I'm writing anything or doing anything like that. So there you go. That's the brain in a nutshell. And this is what I do for my brain, and I do it. I'm constantly keeping care of it, making sure it's clean, not putting junk in it so I don't get dementia. So you don't get, because that's where it comes from, brain toxicity. And I put that in my book, of course, The Cure in the Mirror. Nature's Protocol for Surviving Cancer, by far my best book, and my latest book. Half of it is dedicated to how worthless the medical establishment is when it comes to chronic and infectious disease, and then the second health is my cancer protocol, exactly what to do if you get cancer, the worst disease we have. I hope this has helped. I hope it's going to help your brain, and I will see you guys. I'm Dr. Bob McCauley, Watershed Wellness Center. We're at watershed.net. If you ever want to go to our website, shop.watershed.net. My YouTube channel is Watershed 11 or Dr. Bob McCauley. And I hope you get something out of this. And God bless you all. And thank you so much for listening. You guys have a great one.